The 2019 Georgia Bass TEC was a huge success. We crowned a champion with over 20 pounds of bass. But it's time for a new beginning. We're bringing back the 5 original clubs: High Voltage Bass Anglers, Xtream Jonboat Anglers, Small Water Angling Teams, Electric Bass Opens, and Dixie Jonboat. We've also added 2 additional teams with 5 Alive and Dahlonega Jonboat Anglers. The top 4 finishing teams from these 7 clubs make up your Georgia Bass TEC field for the 2020 season. Time to get everything rolling, because November 14th will be on us before you know it.
Holy shit!
Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of the great coverage from Decked Out Jon Boats. Now let's introduce you to some of the anglers. All right, so we're here with the points champion, or not points champion. We're here with the TEC champions from what, 2018?
2019.
19.
Yeah, last year.
See, it seems like forever since we qualified, since y'all won. Y'all been the champions for almost 2 years.
Yeah, we're good.
Probably the longest standing champions that we'll ever have.
I told you this virus would work. Yeah.
So, why don't y'all tell us how, I know you told us last year, but how did y'all get into electric only bass fishing?
Go ahead.
So for me, it was actually I was talking to Nick White, one of the other members of the SWAT, and I was big lake fishing. Kind of got, I wouldn't say burnt out. Well, I really got burnt out. Got out of big lake fishing for a couple of years there. Went offshore fishing, duck hunting, and wanted to do something a little bit more local. Talked to Nick, and he was telling us about small water angler teams. So bought a 1986 bass tracker, 17-foot bass tracker. First year, kind of fished half the year with small water angler teams. It was a learning curve, to say the least. Going from a motor being able to jump up and run to total electric. Met Mike up at Hard Labor, I guess. I've met him a few times.
At Rocky.
Rocky, yeah, I'm sorry, Hard Labor. Hard Labor's where we're at now. But Rocky Mountain, I met him a few times, but really got talking to him there. That December, we started on my boat to start fishing in January. Rebuilt it, decked it out in aluminum, and that was it. The rest is history. I've been hooked ever since. Now Nick and Keith, his dad, have my old boat.
It's outside.
I've got an 1860 Fisher now that I'm fishing out of. But fished the first year with a friend of mine, Kenneth Spriggs, our first half year, and then me and Mike fished together the last couple of years.
So how long did you fish out of the big bass boat before you kind of got burned out on that?
I guess I was it's before I could drive, 15, 16 years old. I had a friend of mine that's a little bit older than me, Nick Tinsley. We fished together for years. From the time I was 15, 16 years old until probably 26. Then I fished 3 or 4 years just offshore fishing. Tuna, snapper, grouper, different stuff offshore, and then got back into it. Been back into it, 4 years now? Yeah, 4 years.
So do you see yourself getting burned out on the electric only side?
I'm loving it. Yeah, you can only do so much. I used to deer hunt, duck hunt, fish, big water, fish offshore, do a little bit of everything. Got kids, a boy and 2 girls, and you know, I'm really loving this. So with the big water stuff, I was mainly fishing, well, a couple of years there, I fished several different lakes. Fished BFLs, fished a couple FLWs, fished Oconee Marine, fished HD Marines, several different trails, which give me a, you know, I got to travel a good bit, see different water. The last couple of years, though, I was really just focusing on Lanier, and I think I got more burnout on fishing the same water over and over and over. You know, with this electric only stuff, you get to, there's such a variety. I mean, you got your spot lakes, you've got your largemouth lakes, you've got every type of cover, every style of fishing you can cover on the electric only. I really enjoy it.
Well, you can't just sit over and be quiet. What you got? What you got?
I was just waiting for him to finish.
I know he talks a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
So how did you get into the electric only side? Because evidently y'all came in separate and then started fishing together.
Yeah. I got in, I used to fish big waters like he did, skeeter bass boats and all that stuff. And got into a federated club back in the 2000s. And 2001, Tim joined the same club, Tim White, which you know. Fished that till probably 2000, well, fished that up until about 2005, because I sold my boat in 2005. But anyway, me and Tim kept fishing, kind of dropped out of that club and just started fishing like he did, just kind of concentrate on Lanier, started fishing a local little just tournament thing, you know. And because Tim still had his bass boat, and so we'd fish out of his on Lanier. And I was pulling in my subdivision one day, and I saw Kevin pull, back in his boat in his garage. And I had bought a little 14-foot boat to fish Latham with. Latham hadn't been open long at that time. And me and Tim was fishing out of it, and you know, just fun fishing. And Kevin I stopped talking to him, and I said, you know, didn't know anything about the tournaments that were on the watershed lakes, and you know, electric only, didn't know anything about all this stuff. And I pretty much just, I'm like him, I had a daughter. You know, it kind of changes your whole life, things, priorities change. So Kevin said, well, we got an open tournament this coming weekend. He said, why don't y'all come up there and fish it? So I talked to Tim, and he said, yeah, well, let's do that. So we went up there and, you know, fished the thing, and we figured, you know, at that time, that's when people were fishing out of bass hunters, you know, and backing up the pickup trucks and pulling 12-foot Jon Boats out, and, you know, just, and I looked at Tim, and I was like, you know, here I am, used to fishing federated, you know, BASS and all this other stuff. I'm like, this is going to be a cakewalk. You know, look at these guys, you know, and I'm like, at that, I think I'd already bought my 17-foot boats that I got now, and I was like, this is going to be easy. And boy, was I wrong.
They'll stick it to you, won't they?
Yes, they will. And I'm like him. You talk about a learning curve on these lakes when you don't have the current and the bait at the time, and it was a big change. But
You're not checking the generation schedule on these.
Yeah, no. So I've been fishing them now since 2009, and fished with Tim for several years. He and I quit fishing together. That's when I started fishing with Chris about 3 years ago.
You can let everybody know the secret. You started Tim on the Alabama rig, right?
Yeah, that's kind of funny because Kevin and I, Tim he had his son one weekend, and he was working for AT&T, and he had to work one weekend. So there's a lot of tournaments there that he couldn't fish because he couldn't find anybody at AT&T to work for him, or he had his son, and he didn't have time to go pre-fish. So me and Kevin and Dustin, who's Kevin's partner, had just had a little baby. So he had to kind of stick close to the house. Me and Kevin would go pre-fish, and then when the tournament came around, you know, Dustin would get in the boat with Kevin, Tim would get in the boat with me. And we did that for years.
But me and Kevin kind of somewhat figured out the A-rig when it first came out and was catching some good fish on it. And it was kind of funny because when I was telling Tim about it, he started throwing one, he gave up on it. Because every time he threw the thing out there, he hung up. Every cast he hung up. He said, I mean, you know, he was breaking off those things, you know, when you put all the baits and stuff, you got a $25 rig out there. And he was just breaking off and breaking off and breaking off. And I mean, he said, the heck with this. You know, he goes back to throwing his crankbaits and stuff. And he just finally put his head down and figured out how to throw it and how to catch fish on it. So yeah, he and I kind of worked together on that. And then it was kind of funny because when I built Chris's boat out, he called me up in December. I was supposed to have helped him do it starting in November, and I never heard from him. And I was like, well, I guess he's not going to do it. And so he calls me up, and like you said, you know, our first tournament's like 3-4 weeks away. And I said, he called me up, and I told my wife, I said, I'm going to run up to Chris's house, and I said, I'm going to see what he wants to do with this boat. And he'd already gutted everything out of it, and I said, what do you want? We kind of drawed it out and stuff, and he did it kind of very simple and basic. And I said, yeah, we can do it. And he says, man, you sure? I said, yeah. I said, we'll get you on the water a week before a tournament. He says, I just don't see it. And I said, trust me. I said, we'll get it done. I said, now, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to be up here every night. You know, but we'll get this done. So we got his boat finished the weekend before the tournament.
He would help me a couple of nights through the week and on the weekends, and then he'd give me homework the other night. So I was up till a lot of nights at midnight, you know, working on the boat.
Yeah, and we had to run the wires this is funny, we had to run the wires from the back to the front, right? And the boat that he had a centerpiece in it, so he had to drill a hole through it to run the wires through. So I leave his house. Next morning, he calls me up, and he was trying to drill a hole through that thing. You know how the boat's kind of curved in front? He says, you're not going to believe what I did. And I said, what did you do to that boat? And he says, you know I was supposed to drill that hole? I said, yeah. Well, instead of drilling it from the outside in, he drilled from the inside out and drilled right through the side of the boat.
Yeah.
Made a spot for a headlight.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So
I was drilling the hole. I was leaned over the boat and I was drilling the hole and trying to get, you know, so I could pull my wires through to the front. And I was drilling it and I'm like, yeah, man, that worked out good. And I pulled it back through and I'm looking and I can see my leg through the side of the boat. And I'm like, yeah, that's not good. A little setback.
Yeah, so he's sweating and everything. I got a buddy of mine that builds these rock crawlers, this up and coming, and I called him up, and Chris took the boat up there, and took it off the trailer, you know, and he's got a thing that you can rotate like the frames and stuff on his rock, and he welded it up for him. So anyway, long story short, we finally get the boat finished and get up there the weekend before the tournament, make sure it's going to float and everything. And I asked Chris, I said, you ever thrown an A-rig? And he said, I'll throw it, but I really ain't done anything with it, you know. I just, you know, da-da-da-da-da. And I said, well, go get you a couple of A-rigs. And I said, we're going to go up there and have some fun. So we get a couple of A-rigs, and I think he caught a 6-pound spot.
Yeah.
You know, caught stripers. We had a great day up on, I was on re-rig. And,
Little Carters.
Yeah, we caught the heck out of some big spots that day.
We turned around, took the boat out the next weekend and won our first tournament out of it.
Yeah. He went to spend about $200 on A-rigs.
Yeah. Yeah, and first cast the weekend of the tournament, I think was a 5.5, 6-pound lip on A-rig.
So that's how we got hooked up together. But yeah, I've been doing it for 12 years now, I guess.
So would y'all say y'all are more excited about tomorrow, or were you more excited than last year going into the first one? Is it more fun to be defending champs, or was it more fun to try to get the crown to start with?
So for me, I'm a little bit anxious. I really want it. I really want to. I mean, it's great. You know, the win last year was awesome, but to defend that would be.
Yeah, it's just.
I think that would. I don't know that could. I mean, it's always going to be known as the. You know, we won the inaugural first, you know, TEC, but to be able to back that up another year would be unbelievable. I'm a little bit anxious, a little bit nervous, I'm excited. There's a lot of things.
I mean, I'm not even competing this year, and I couldn't sleep last night.
Yeah.
You're not in it this year?
I missed about 2 spots.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's gonna be different.
Yeah.
I don't know. I keep looking at the forecast. One
It's
one
totally
forecast
changed.
is calling for, yeah, earlier this week they were saying rain Saturday,
Now sunshine.
wind. Now they're saying sunshine. Well, one weather app saying no wind. Today we had wind and it was saying no wind. The other weather app saying 10-mile-an-hour winds, which could play a huge factor in the tournament tomorrow. Personally, I like to power fish. I'd like to see some wind. We'll see. We'll see.
Yep.
So what y'all think? How do you think moving it from May to now is going to affect the winning weights, the way people are fishing?
The people that know the lake, that fish it all the time, I think have got a heck of an advantage. Fishing it in March and us winning in March, and then fishing it in May, we know what the fish are going to do, or where they should be, or what they're going to do. So, you know, supposedly it's a lot easier to figure it out quicker. Now you're looking at fall. You know, I've never fished this lake in the fall, so I have no idea.
I think the fish are gonna be scattered out. You're gonna have fish deep. You're gonna have fish in 30 feet of water, and you're gonna have fish in 2 feet of water. So I mean, personally, I think the winning bag is gonna come shallow. I don't see your big largemouth getting out there chasing little threadfin, which is where you're going to see a lot of your schooling activity, I think, chasing the little threadfin that's, you know, inch and a half long. And I just don't think a big fish is not going to get out there and do that. They can't sustain their weight doing that. They want to be sitting on the bank being lazy, and we'll see. I mean, I could be completely wrong, but you know, I just think that your big bag's going to come shallow. I still think it's going to take around 20 pounds. We'll see. I mean, the fish historically in every other lake, I don't know how it is here, but are normally pretty healthy this time of year. You know, getting over summer, there's a lot of bait moving back in creeks,
Feeding up for the winter.
feeding up. We'll see.
So not necessarily y'all, but how do you think, I mean, everybody fishes in the spring. You know,
Yep.
March, April, May, that's when everybody bass fishes. Not
Most
necessarily-
people are hunting this time of year, because I just came
not
out of the woods.
necessarily everybody is on the water this time of year, spending a lot of time, like the general bass fishing, you know, population.
Yep.
So, how many of the guys that are competing in this tournament do you think moving it kind of not? Because I mean, a lot of us are serious bass fishermen. Like we do it all year long.
Yep.
So, how many of the people that are competing in this tournament do you think aren't necessarily usually fishing during the fall?
I think quite a bit. I mean,
I don't know. They didn't get to this level or qualified not fishing.
yeah, but most of your tournament trails too, your
Are
club
over.
tournaments are over with this time of year. So again, a lot of your clubs schedule around deer season, just because you have so many people that are hunting, deer hunting and different stuff. You know, I personally think that a lot of the anglers that are gonna be fishing this tournament are normally, you know, in any given year will be in the woods this time of year. Especially what we're in the third week of November. I mean, from November 1 or last week in October to the
End of
first week
November.
in December is your prime time for deer hunting. And I've kind of ventured away from that myself. I mean, honestly, I've fished more this fall than I've fished in the last 5-6 years. But I've really enjoyed it too. So.
Yeah. I'm still doing the woods thing, so.
Yeah, he just got back from the woods yesterday.
Yeah, I got back Wednesday. I was supposed to stay in the woods till today, but they said it was gonna rain.
Yeah.
And I hunt South Georgia. I got some property down there that I own. And 85 degrees and raining. I said, no, I'll come back to the house. Because I'm gonna work 4 days next week and I'm going back in for 9 more, so.
So that, bringing that up, I think that's gonna affect this tournament more than anything. I mean, normally we already had a couple of good cold snaps. It looks like we missed this one by a week. Next week, I think the lows in the mid 30s, upper 30s, high 60. I think that would have had a huge,
Yeah, water temperature needs to drop.
yeah, it had a huge difference in this tournament. I think if it was a week later, and of course we can't control the weather, but I think if it was a week later, you would, you'd see more consistent and bigger waves.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're gonna be spread out.
Yeah.
Anywhere on the lake
Yeah.
is fair game.
And that's gonna be the tough part on getting a lot of big consistent bags is the fish are not gonna be congregating. I mean, they're gonna be, like I say, from a foot of water to 30 foot of water.
It's probably turned over for the most part. I mean, maybe not fully, but
Yep,
it's, and that always spreads the fish out.
yep, yep. Yeah, and then you need a few cold fronts to kinda
Cause I was
pack them
down,
back up.
what was I down, the weekend before the cutoff?
Yep,
Yeah, and the water temperature's still 75 at that point.
yeah, I think it's probably not gonna be far from there now, maybe 70. Of course, we don't know, we'll know in the morning,
Yeah.
but either way, I mean, just with the warm temperatures we've had and stuff, it's fish are just gonna be scattered.
Well, I think we're good. Y'all know where on the lake you going tomorrow? Got a game plan together?
Middle arm,
Middle arm?
that was it for us last year. I hear we're gonna be seeing you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll be all over the place.
Oh, will you? Yeah,
Yeah, I'll be all over the place.
I think, from what I hear, there's gonna be a boat race to the bridge in the middle arm.
That's what I'm hearing.
And then, we'll probably just try to slide by, and we ain't gonna make it there by the time they get there, but I think we're gonna kinda bounce around in the middle
If
arm.
they're kinda bumping boats up there, you know, maybe we could slide a cast in here then.
Yeah, yeah, we'll see. I mean, I honestly believe, I mean, it could be one anywhere, but
We did some looking, kind of know how that arm's laid out and just confidence, I guess.
I think it's either gonna come from the middle arm or the top of the right arm.
Good.
Well, I don't know. I say that. We fished, me and Aaron come down here in a benefit tournament, fished all day. In the last, literally 20 minutes of the tournament, we pulled up at the bridge right there at the boat ramp and caught, in 5 casts, I caught 4 4-pounders. And just needed that one more fish to win it. And I had it hooked, it come off. It was timing. We literally had a minute to get back to the ramp, and I threw back up there. And when I threw up there, Aaron's like, "We gotta go." He turned on the back trolling motor, and as soon as he did, the fish picked it up, and I set the hook, and I just didn't get a good hook in it. So, and that was right at the boat ramp. So, I don't know. It's
Yeah, I mean, I think it could be one anywhere on the lake. What I think is getting those 2 big bites, like 5 plus.
yeah.
If
Well,
you get them 2,
You've been fishing this lake since they opened it, right?
yeah.
So you got good experience on it.
But, I mean, I don't, like, pretty much I just get to fish, I get to fish tournaments.
Yeah.
That's the only fishing I get to do right now. I mean, I don't get to pre-fish, I don't get to come out here and graph. I spend maybe 1 day graphing on that lake.
Do you have a ranch or do you have humminbird?
I've got humminbird and I've got 1 garmin.
You gotta get a Lowrance and a Garmin. See,
It's hard to beat those humminbirds.
I agree. No, I agree with the side imaging on that, but I've got the whole lake mapped and never even mapped nothing on it. C maps, Genesis. But did you get the Garmin Panoptics?
I don't have the live, but I got the Panoptics.
Yeah. I got the pan. I just put on my boat. I've got the Ghost with the Lowrance, but I also got the Garmin with the Panoptics. It's pretty sweet.
Did you get the live or did you
Yeah.
get the?
Yeah.
See, I just see the blob. I don't see the fish.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I just
It's
got.
still fun to play with. Like, it's cool to see the suspended fish and you're driving the boat and they sink down.
Oh yeah. What I told him, what amazes me is the fish that in the summertime. Maybe in the wintertime too. I don't know. I've just fished it twice now, 3 times. I've been on the lake 3 times with it, but the fish that will come to the shade line of the boat and sit under your boat and kind of move with you. And I'm like, what's going on? You drop something from it and they run from it. It's amazing.
And you can see air bubbles coming up. I'm like, watch this, there's air bubbles. It's coming
Oh,
up
yeah.
right there.
Yeah,
And just, oop.
yep. It's a game changer. It really is.